Hello, everybody. This is Chevy Cool Lady at Chevy Investigates and Opinionates, welcoming you to a very in depth episode. I've worked hard on this for you, and it's going to be in two parts. This topic does include items of self harm, drug addiction, corruption in high places, racial issues, and if these are triggers for you, then I suggest you opt out now, and we'll see you in the next video. To those who have remained, thank you so much for joining me. Grab a coffee and a snack because we're going to dive into a lengthy topic, and this is about Robeson County, the deep levels of corruption. Most of you have heard from other creators about Tarnished Badge. And believe me, the corruption is much, much deeper. We're not even going to go into the centuries old issues. We're going to just pick it up in mid 19th century or 20th century in the mid 1900s. And we're going to discuss just briefly some of the cases that have come up that show the depth of the corruption. We're going to talk about some unsolved murders. And most importantly, today we're going to talk about the Micah Francis case.
Police released a timeline of the day that Micah died, from the moment she left her house at just after 11:30 in the morning to when she bought the gun police found at the scene at 12:13 in the afternoon, and then less than 3 hours later when she called 911 from that state park, threatening to take her own life. Now, the sheriff's office said Mr. Miller was not in North Carolina the night before or the day of Micah's death. He was in Charleston at an athletic event, confirmed by surveillance video. He then broke the news to his congregation on the 28th, claiming Micah was struggling with mental illness and took her own life. But friends and family of Micah's say she could not have killed herself. Micah had filed for a divorce from John Paul Miller multiple times, according to reports, including days before her death. She hinted on social media to being in an abusive relationship. There's also recent police reports Micah filed in March saying she was fearful for her life, claiming that someone slashed her tires and a GPS tracking device was put on her car.
To get together all the information of John Paul's alibi and where Micah was that day. They didn't interview anybody properly from that site. More and more people are coming out saying that they were there at the scene and they weren't questioned. Nobody, even the kayaker or fisherman that found her belongings, he was talked to for about a few minutes and said, okay, thanks, goodbye. It just came out in a video that when one of the employees from that state park, they saw him leaving in a truck and with his boat behind him whenever he left with Micah's stuff. And when he came to bring it back, he had went to the store and then came back in a different car, like a white car.
And nobody from the police have questioned that.
No one from the police have questioned that. No one even swabbed his hands for any residue, anything. His story from what I've seen on the internet, his story and other people interviewing him, other people are going to interview him other than the police because everyone's saying what happened that day, right? The same question, what happened that day? The proper interviews just weren't done. The fisherman's story of how he found Micah and what he did that day from their interviews and everything online, everybody can see it. It's changed 2 or 3 times. There's a lot of people saying that they heard 2 gunshots go off. He's claiming he only heard 1. It's just like all over the place, and the police should have done a better job.
I heard them on TikTok say that gun should have been a loud caliber, a loud sounding gun, right? Well, the gun that I heard that day, it sounded like it was a small caliber. It sounded like a loud firecracker or something like that. That's exactly what I heard. I never heard no.
Out there, we don't go up there. It's not a family spot. And she was off the trail enough into a park ranger only area.
And it was pretty obvious that they just wanted to get it over with because they were getting, the day that everyone found out, it seems like the whole world is just in an uproar because people are finally coming out of the woodwork and people are finally saying, this is a video I had 20 years ago.
Mitigating circumstances is all the police came up with to conclude what happened to Micah. But the family still has questions. They feel that their requests and sense of urgency were pushed aside, brushed under the rug, and the one person who was in a hurry to get rid of any evidence was John Paul, and he seemed to get his way. If you ask me, quickly these things were done. Quickly these things were drawn into conclusions. Even the story on the medical examiner's report reflected a bias that surely came from John Paul himself. There's no way that that could have been written without his input, in my opinion. Today, a 911 call dropped that I wanted to play with you for you, but I was having difficulty. The audio just was not the kind of caliber that I could use. So I went ahead and put this up. If you want to take screenshots and look at it, or better yet, go to Zagirl's um, channel and watch it in its entirety. There were several calls coming through at once, but there was information pertaining to Micah.
Scene that they don't believe align with a suicide.
She would have done it the way that whole scenario occurred. She got dressed for work and then was either coaxed or tricked or something out there to a place no one has gone to before in our family, a place no one knows about except, I don't know, who does. We know some people already know about it that live in the area. And it is not something that she would just, go do out of nowhere. She would not have left her shift unattended. She's that much of a caring person. She would have covered her bases. She would have left money with people to do things. She would have not left her godmother with a car payment. This is not what Mike was like. She was a caring person who wanted to make sure people were taken care of.
This is video the family filmed when they visited.
The theory of suicide does not add up to me because you're telling me her body floated all the way down this stagnant water and her belongings were all the way up here. We had to walk down a trail, a separate trail, climb through all this mud and trees and fallen debris to even get to where her body was, down the water. It's not like she could have, left her belongings and walked down the water and then committed suicide down here, and then somehow the bullets and everything stayed over there.
So the bank where the bird boxes and stuff are is where the shell casings and such were found. And the gun was found forward of that, right in the water. And then her body was about 40 meters away, and the water doesn't flow at all. There's no way she would have floated 40 meters away from the edge. It is as if she was placed there.
Texted me again at 3:47 and said, "Are you singing this Sunday? I'll be at second service." And I said, "Yes."
Micah's friend Angela Clark was among the last to speak with her the night before she died, making plans for Sunday, offering to help with car payments.
She said, "Okay, I'm excited to see you up there."
Robeson County has a lot of explaining to do as far as I'm concerned. Why was there no decent investigation done on this poor girl? There are many instances that seem like a self unaliving that turn out to be a homicide. Many cases. Ann P just did a video about this. I have the link in my description, but I'm going to give you a little piece so you can understand why people are really questioning, the whole county from top to bottom, and with good reason. They have a huge history of racial division, corrupt politicians, and unholy officials.
The point of our core values is to make sure we are growing as disciples, not just Christians. And so today I want to talk to you about our core value, we give. We give. And I'll be honest with you, money is the most fascinating subject to me in the Bible. Of the 1,971 of them are about how money is the greatest contestant for our heart. Above any addiction, above any type of immorality, above anything we could ever battle in life, 1,971 verses in the Bible say that money has the potential to steal your heart away from Jesus above everything else. Jesus preached about money more than any other subject. Hell was number 2. Money says, I'm the answer to your problems. How many of you, don't raise your hand, but how many of you in life, you thought if I just had more money, I'd have less problems? Now, biblically, the Bible actually says the more money you have, the more battles you have. Biblically, okay? But again, money says, I'm the answer to your problems. But God says, wait a minute. I'm the answer to your problems. It's hard. He says, it's mine. It's not yours. It belongs to me. It is for my purpose. It's like the last Krispy Kreme donut. Don't touch it. Don't smell it. Don't lick it. Don't put your finger on it. It's mine.
You'd think someone begging for money so hard that he devotes an entire sermon to it, he'd be lacking money. But it doesn't seem that Solid Rock was lacking in the finance department at all. The church boasts a multi-million-dollar portfolio and owns 4 properties with a total taxable value of $5.59 million. The church even has its own plane, a $430,000 four-seater, which is supposedly used for ministry work. But flight records show it's only made 2 trips all year. One trip from Barrow County, Georgia to Knoxville in February, and then from Knoxville, which is in Tennessee, to Rocky Mountain, North Carolina in April. The church also owns JP's house, which we're going to talk about in a second. And records show that Solid Rock Church is worth $1.93 million. They also own 28.2 acres of land totaling $3.42 million. Land records show that JP's home in Horry County was sold to the church in December of 2023. Why is that timing odd? Because it's 2 months after Micah filed for divorce for the first time and requested that the value of the marital home be split equally between herself and JP. So he just sells it to the church so that he doesn't own it anymore, even though he owns the church, so he sold it to himself. Additionally, JP sold the house to Solid Rock for $169,000, but records show the value of the property is actually around $240,000. There have also been rumors that the church had its members add them to their life insurance policies. Now, right at this moment, there's nothing substantial to prove or disprove that. It's just people who were at the church said that the church made them add Solid Rock to their life insurance policies, which sounds kind of culty, okay? I believe it was Jim Jones. Yeah, Jim Jones. Jonestown.
there and do that. Well, but see, for criminal activity, it would be very convenient for it to happen where it did. And specifically to a criminal who likes to cover their tracks. Could she have been getting step-by-step instructions and was waiting in Mullins for the next instructions shortly after she pulled out of the gas station? Could she have been pulled over? You know, that black car she was driving was not registered to her name. It was registered to her roommate's name. But you know what the Robeson County Sheriff's Department said in the report? That they ran it and it was Micah Miller's car. I don't think so. Why can you see her credit cards in her wallet by the shifter in the front of her car? Why can you see her sunglasses in the car when it was a sunny day to go for a hike unless she took them off to drive and then was intercepted? Why did the police say in the report they found the gun in the water, but in the police call log they say the gun was found in the vehicle? And if the investigation of her death is in fact closed, as they claim, why will they not release any more information? Why will they not release her effects? Why will they not release the full footage of the 911 calls? I mean, they had no problem giving everybody that was nearby.
Now, I'm not claiming at all that the attorney has any affiliation with Micah's death, but I do find it to be a coincidence. John Paul made many statements in regards to Micah's mental state, her medical history, and also encouraged her to be admitted to a mental facility. Tom Winslow also helped JP get power of attorney over her. It's also on his website that he specializes in artificial intelligence.
All right. I wanted to just to get a good feel that the Robeson Police Department did not do their job in the Micah Miller case. They have not done their job in a lot of cases, and we're soon to see that. I want to give you a little bit of background information, but before we do, I did have a question and wondered how accessible is the Lumber River from one landing to another. I was lucky enough to find a guy named Edward Outdoor Adventure who actually did a canoe trip from Piney Point Island to Fair Bluff. Yes, that's right. Where the store is, where the land is that's owned by a certain attorney that we know, and sits right on the Lumber River. Well, he made a 109-mile trip, and we're just going to join him for the last 9 miles where he takes off from Princess Anne in Lumber River State Park. He tracks that um, little distance in about 90 minutes. So you can imagine how much faster it would be with a little motorboat. You could just go from one spot to the other. There are camping spots, which I found really interesting, all along the river as well. Be easy for someone just to hide out, lay wait, or even carry somebody in a boat from one spot to another. But I just wanted to have a little bit of evidence to present to you on that. So enjoy the short little trip. I've speeded it up so we don't have to, you know, be with him that much time. So enjoy. So the Lumber River was used mainly for logging and has logging routes right along, so that would create a lot of the paths that are in the river banks as well as the river itself. There's even old types of the machinery that was used in the manufacturing of the logs upriver some and ends at Fair Bluff, which is as you can see, it's a literal ghost town. It looks like at one time it was a thriving community, and like they say, when the cotton and the other industry pulled out, people lost their shirts and left town.